welcome to this special edition of Newsmakers. 2024 marks the 40th anniversary of KGCS television. As we celebrate that anniversary, we honor those who helped get the station started, along with other outstanding alumni. We also recognize the efforts of longtime KGCS employee Judy Stiles, recently inducted to the Regional Media Hall of Fame, with 40-year veteran instructor Chad Stebbins. We begin with a look back at how it all started, with help from the summer class of 1984.
In the summer of 1984, the nation was dancing to the soundtrack of Purple Rain by Prince, playing on the stereo. Fashion was influenced by Cyndi Lauper and Madonna. McDonald's chicken nuggets had hit their stride and were now going global. And Missouri Southern State College was preparing to launch MSTV. Richard Massa and a class of 8 summer school students stepped into a world of video production, building programs from scratch with equipment they had never seen before.
It hardly seems like it was 40 years ago in 1984 when Mr. Massa came to me and came to a number of my college students then and gave us a project and told us what we were going to be doing and that we would be really breaking ground on a new territory for communications at Missouri Southern.
We were aware this was a big thing, right? And so we all did have an appreciation for the fact that this is the first.
What we're going to do, we spent the month of June lining up guests, program ideas with these 8 students, doing scripts for a certain kind of program we were going to do, doing a script for a historical program we wanted to do. And then Dr. Clark came in July, and we went into production. We were in production every day, including Saturdays and Sundays, practically until 10, 11 o'clock every night.
I'll never forget these 8 students who enrolled in a summer TV production course. They had to literally unpack the TV equipment and set up the studio, and they got ready for Dr. Robert Clark to arrive on campus. He started July 1st, 1984. He had come from the University of Central Missouri in Warrensburg, where he taught broadcasting in Missouri Southern, lured him away to come here and help launch the TV station. And so these 8 students that summer were really pioneers.
Communication major A. John Baker and Dave Griffith are just 2 of the 8 students in that summer school class that included Marty Otting, Julie Burrows, Doug Moore, Daphne Massa, and now deceased Greg Barker and Richard Williams.
Most of the people that were involved that summer were laying the foundation for themselves even. I didn't take any broadcasting classes, but I was included just like the others, I think, because they knew that I could be an asset to the team.
8 fantastic students. What they accomplished, what they were willing to do, the hours they put in, the dedication they gave was somewhat typical, however, of the dedication I had always had from students at Missouri Southern working on the chart or other projects that we had been involved in.
Those students say they had a great mentor in Massa.
When Mr. Massa asked you to do something, there was never no in the answer that you replied with him. There was a way that you found a way to get it done. But he was also a man that was there to support you and to help you wherever he can. He was always a very quiet man, but he was also a man that was very determined. And he was determined to make sure that Missouri Southern television was going to work.
Now a state representative in Missouri, Dave Griffith was a non-traditional student in 1984 at 36 years old. His maturity led to some added responsibility when Dr. Bob Clark, who was hired to be in charge of the new television station, came on board with only a background in radio.
And he admitted to all of us that he didn't know a whole lot about television, but that he was willing to learn along with us. And I'll never forget when the editing equipment came in to the station, he literally handed me the manual and said, "Here, learn how to edit, because you're going to train the rest of these kids on how to edit." So we trained ourselves.
Did they know they were pioneers? That it would last? That they were in on the start of something big?
No, I don't think we really did. I think that we didn't think that far ahead. I think what we thought about was, at that particular time, was we had a job to do. We had that summer to be able to create enough programming to carry us through the fall semester and into the spring semester as well. So we videotaped an awful lot of shows, a lot of talking head shows. Checkerboard Alley was one that we built the sets for. I had a show called Inside Sports where I interviewed some Missouri Southern stars that were there, some graduates, some alumni that came. We had a pitcher for the San Diego Padres that came in and got to interview him.
The experience would help shape Griffith's career in broadcasting.
The impact it had on my career was that when I graduated from Missouri Southern in '86, the first job I got out of college was up here in Jefferson City at KRCG-TV, which is a CBS affiliate, and they hired me to be a director and announcer. And the way I got the lead on that was actually from Daphne Baker at that time.
He would spend 23 years at KRCG as a director of news, a production manager, director of creative services, and early on as a co-host of a show called Lakeside, where he put what he learned at MSTV to good use.
I think Missouri Southern Television gave me the confidence to be able to create a show like that and to produce a show like that.
Griffith and other MSTV pioneers honed their interview skills through an hour-long show called Southern Perspective. He interviewed Dr. Julio Leon and other famous people from Joplin, such as Dennis Weaver.
Dennis said he would do a Southern Perspective, but there was no way in the world he was doing 58 minutes. He said, "You'll be lucky to get 30 minutes out of me." And we were lucky to get 30 minutes out of him.
Weaver wanted to join two disc jockeys doing a food drive from on top of a rangeline billboard.
So he had a real passion for helping those that were less fortunate. And it was a real honor to be able to meet him and to talk to him. He was kind of hard to interview.
All of the summer of '84 alums enjoy retelling a story about the recording of an interview with history professor Harry Gokul, who had long retired.
Harry was actually just a few months away from passing away that fall. And so that was a difficult interview because he had some memory lapses, and so the interview had to be halted several times, and kind of Harry was prompted with what he needed to talk about, and how she got through an hour with him. I'm still amazed.
Can you tell us a little bit about E.A. Elliott? He was the first president of the college.
He was the first president of the college, and I had an interview with him in regard to my salary. I'll never forget this. And I think we agreed on the salary.
Some gave super short answers.
And so it was a learning experience for all of us. But I can tell you, for Doug, it was a very trying experience for him, one that we kind of laughed about afterwards.
Giving the students a lesson in why you don't ask a yes or no question. The students may not have thought they were making history, but they were preserving it.
And so we did know that we were somewhat capturing historic perspectives that could be played over and over to tell the story of how Missouri Southern, now State University, grew from its very humble roots.
But they were also allowed to be creative.
There was that delightful program that one of my summer students, one of the original 8, produced called Checkerboard Alley, which was for children. And it was amazing how popular that program was. It was amazing to watch the production on Saturday morning when dozens and dozens of little children, 3 to 7 years old, would be coming to the studio to participate. And Greg Barker was the host, and Greg Barker looked like Howdy Doody, I thought, with his freckles and red hair and the way he dressed himself purposely to look like Howdy Doody. And they did cooking, and they did storytelling, they did dancing, and they did all kinds of things. I remember those days when the students decided we have to have a music program, so every week there was a different local band brought in the studio to perform, and we taped their programs and aired those.
Early in the morning, late at night, takes you by surprise and makes you feel alright. The music gets you going, it'll keep you rolling along.
We said we would be to the best of our ability, a local access channel providing opportunities for student groups, local groups, community groups to have programming aired.
In the years to come, there would be shows like Chamber Chat, Academic Challenge, Debbie Can Do, Gene Campbell's Showcase, Visions Unlimited, Focus on the Arts, and many more.
The public was hungry for local programming. It was an opportunity for the local people to see themselves in an interview situation, even such as this, or other kinds of situations, for 30 minutes and get their ideas or their promotions across, to discuss their clubs, their organizations, their goals, the purposes of these organizations, and fundraising activities. So we had terrific response.
But it all started with those hour-long interviews set up by the Summer 8 and giving them skills to use for life.
You don't get nervous if you know what you're doing, so it's all that research that you put into the subject matter so that you can get up and talk intelligently in front of a bunch of people without getting nervous. In my life, I've applied it through all kinds of situations. Talking to candidates that I've worked with over time and having to learn more, get from them a story about their life so that I can better understand them, so that I can help them tell the story to voters as to who they are and why they ought to be elected to the given office.
Being part of the groundbreaking group created lifelong bonds and friendships for many in the class of the summer of '84.
The relationships and the camaraderie, that was probably the biggest thing. This wasn't me doing it, or David, or Daphne, or Marty. It was us as a collective. We were all working together, whether somebody's running the control board or a camera, or whoever the interviewer is. We were just all doing all of it. And it was, team is not exactly the word, but I mean, it was a group of us acting as one.
But I do want to tell you that I think about all of you. I love you. I care about what's happening there. And I wish all the future students at Missouri Southern the same experience that I had while I was there. Thank you.
We honor the summer class of '84 as outstanding alumni. For KGCS, I'm JJ Ramos.
The summer class of 1984 is among other outstanding alumni. We also recognize Lynn Onstadt and Mike Cooper. Here's a look at their reflections to 40 years ago.
Yeah, KGCS being, here for 40 years, that takes me back. I was here 40 years ago.
It was Lynn Onstadt's senior year as a public communications major.
It was exciting. People were very excited and nervous a little bit. It's just this big major equipment that we knew it cost a lot of money. You don't really know a lot about it. You don't want to break anything. It's, nowadays when you think of, probably somebody who got their first computer, way back when, and they were nervous. It's like, oh, if I hit a button, will it blow up? That kind of thing. I remember they were very big and very heavy to move, and so they wanted to get the shots set, and then they didn't really, it's not like you have seen on other productions or whatever, that they roll the camera over here or roll over there, because I think we had 2 or 3, I don't recall, but they weren't moving them a lot just because of the weight of them.
Onstadt experienced the TV station after gaining writing skills working with the Chart newspaper. Lessons in show production and creating content would pay off later. She remembers it was serious business.
Yes, you did have to pitch your show. You had to have the full script. I mean, it was definitely a production. It was not just, we have an idea, oh sure, let's try it. Because here it was new, it was fresh, we wanted it to be right the first time. So people knew the value of it.
Onstadt's communication degree would place her in several PR jobs before landing now as the Public Information Officer for the City of Joplin. KGCS and the Chart prepared her.
I think it's really neat because I worked in both hospitals here and did public relations. Media relations has been a key component of my career. In every position I've had, I've worked with news media. So learning broadcast and learning what it takes for them to do news helped me a lot.
From 2013 to 2020, Onstadt hosted her own show at KGCS called Joplin Insider.
Hello, I'm Lynn Onstadt with the City of Joplin, and this is the show Joplin Insider. it made me comfortable to know about KGCS and how they worked and its inner workings as far as how it was developed and why it was developed. So I knew that we were providing another component to community broadcast, and we wanted people to get an inside look behind the doors of City Hall.
Now, at the city, she has her own media team working to add video elements to the city's website, taking her back to the time when Richard Massa worked to launch the station with a focus on bringing city government into their living rooms.
I do find it rewarding that I have kind of come full circle, that, you know, I started at Southern and I can come out here to Southern, and Southern is a big part of the community now, and of course KGCS, you know, broadcasting the council meetings, which is exactly what I need the public to, you know, to learn, to know from.
Students work those city council meetings getting hands-on experience that Onstott says she gained through an internship for credit, something she calls a valuable asset.
I interned at the Clayton Chamber of Commerce. I was very proud of that because I came away with a portfolio, and every week I had to call in and talk to Mr. Massa.
Whether offsite or in the KGCS studio, Onstott says her MSSU communications degree put her on the path to success.
And again, you're coming away with a portfolio tape or, you know, something to walk away with to say, hey, you know, I have worked in the professional world. I'm not just a student.
And she's still proving that now. We honor Lynn Onstott as one of our outstanding alumni. For KGCS TV, I'm Zephra Green.
I think I was part of the group that started this TV station. Yeah, we were in that little building on top of the hill is where we started, and we were MSTV. If I recall, we were one of the first schools in this area that was going to do a broadcast curriculum like that, you know, and had the studio and had newer equipment. So yeah, it was a really exciting time.
Mike Cooper was a broadcast communications major the year the TV station launched at Missouri Southern as MSTV. It would later become KGCS.
I'd already been at KSN for a couple of years in production, so probably 82 through 84-ish. Then I was going to school here. And yeah, when I first started, they were in the process of building it and getting it going.
Cooper came into the building of MSTV a little late, but his experience and contributions were almost immediately felt.
Dr. Balhorn found out that I was working at KSN. I kind of got involved in, you know, what's the thing we need to buy? You know, what are the TV stations doing right now?
Cooper, while helping equipment purchases for the TV station, continued to work at KSNF.
Double training from both those, because I was working 40 hours a week at KSN, and then was, you know, probably taking 15, 18 hours, you know, a semester here.
Cooper would go on to use the experience he gained both at MSSU and KSNF after graduation to contribute at even bigger TV stations.
By the time I graduated from Southern, I was the 6 and 10 o'clock director here. And when I graduated, they wanted me to go to Wichita. So KSNW brought me up there, and I directed for several years.
Cooper's fondest memory of his time during the early days of MSTV was the bond he and his peers shared throughout the city of Joplin.
Back in the 80s, this Joplin TV community was a pretty tight-knit group. I mean, we hung out together after work, and you know, kind of everybody knew what everybody was doing. So yeah, I had a lot of people that I'm still in touch with today.
Cooper loved to see how the studio that he was a part of starting has grown and succeeded.
I'm really happy that it's grown. Congratulations to everyone from the Ray Balhorns and the Richard Massas of the world to all the people who are doing it now.
After years in broadcasting, Cooper has now turned those skills of hard work and communication knowledge to start his own high school sports magazine called Vibe.
We don't preview tonight's game. We don't recap last night's game. Everything we do is a story about a player, a coach, a parent, somebody involved in high school athletics. And not necessarily for their athletic ability. We cover kids for good grades, community service, moms who dedicate time to the school, coaches who excel in this classroom. What we've been able to find with that model, we want to tell you what kids are doing on and off the field.
Whether it's images captured on camera as video or photos, Mike Cooper is a shining example of the skills nurtured in the Department of Communication at MSSU and KGCS. We honor Mike Cooper for all his hard work and accomplishments as one of our outstanding alumni.
For nearly 30 years, Judy Stiles served as host of Newsmakers and led the station through many changes as general manager of KGCS. We welcome her into the Regional Media Hall of Fame.
In 1986, MSTV was on the air as a cable access channel just 2 years when Judy Stiles came on the scene. Her faculty supervisor was Dr. Robert Clark when she was hired by Richard Massa, the department chair.
Had given me a tour, and he said, "Here's our studio. Oh, that's nice." And so, and your desk is back there. It was literally behind the curtain, a metal desk in the corner. I didn't have a phone on it, and there were these boxes piled around it with things. And I said, "Okay," but no, it was good equipment though. That was one thing that they did when they started the station. They invested in good equipment. You know, for a college station in the 1980s to have 3/4-inch equipment and professional grade studio cameras, it was, you know, a good hands-on for the students to say, "What I'm working with, I'm going to work with when I go out in the field."
So the hiring of Judy Stiles in 1986 as Community Services Director was a huge step for the TV station, because it was only 2 years old at the time, and a lot of that infrastructure was still being developed, and new students were coming on board all the time. And so Judy brought professional experience to the station, and she is just an amazing example of professionalism and consistency. I don't think her contributions to television and to broadcasting at Missouri Southern can be emphasized nearly enough.
It was always a treat because Judy's talked to everybody. She's interviewed everybody, and some of those shows and interviews still stick in my mind as something that well, for instance, she had a show where she had Colonel Travis Hoover. He was the gentleman who lived in Webb City. He was the second plane off of the carrier for the battle where they bombed Tokyo. You know, the Doolittle raid. And what an interesting gentleman. I mean, I actually got to, myself and the students and Judy, we got to meet literally someone out of history.
Judy Stiles was the face of Newsmakers for 3 decades. She shared some of her most memorable interviews.
We had a symposium on campus, the Boylan Symposium, and they'd bring in guest speakers. Helen Thomas from UPI, who was a White House correspondent going back to Roosevelt. You know, she was one of the guests with Harriet Woods, who was a legislative leader in Missouri. And they came on the show, and I think that really struck me because I still had, you know, my love of journalism, and just hearing someone from like Helen Thomas talk about her role in covering the White House. And she had this great, it just sticks in my mind, she was talking about the 90s. You know, that was when cable TV was the big thing. You know, news was 24/7. And I think I remember her saying that, you know, news is 24/7 now. I don't know if there's an overload, but as long as it's still there, we're going to keep giving it to people. This is before we had social media and all the other overload that came later. Yeah. So that one really stands out in my mind about how something somebody said, you know, 30 years ago is still today. We have this information, we're going to give it to you.
Another favorite was her interview with actor Dennis Weaver, a Joplin native who visited campus several times.
He had a program called Ecolonomics. It was ecology and economics tying them together and kind of saying that, you know, you can have ecology and save the environment, but you don't have to push aside business. So, you know, he came in and it wasn't so much talk about your role on, you know, gun smoke and so forth. He was talking about helping the environment, working together. So that was one that stood out, you know, to me from him, from one of those people. Hollywood related, I also thought it was neat. We got to interview Joanne Bruff, who was with Falcon Crest in Dallas. You know, the behind the scenes people, Earl Hamner, the creator of the Waltons, came in, and to be able to talk to somebody who created a famous television show that really, you know, led the way in TV, to see what made it click, how they came up with their ideas.
Judy also welcomed many politicians over the years, asking them to be a guest when they came to visit constituents. During her tenure, Judy coordinated political debates and candidate forums, which continue at KGCS today. As community service coordinator, she welcomed other show hosts to add to the station's programming, like a focus on the arts with partners such as Jerry Yarnell.
Seeing the creativity that comes out of his mind, okay, I'm going to put this here and that there and create it. But then we followed up with, we had a wood carving show, Mike Kent, same thing came to us, we're interested in an artist show, and he would wood carve ducks.
The station would also carry professional baseball.
So it was kind of fun. The Cardinals were our primary, but we'd have the Royals when the Cardinals weren't playing, or if the Cardinals had a day game, we'd have the Royals at night. And all of those required students working in the control room because we didn't have automated equipment. So somebody had to sit there when they had a commercial break, you ran the commercial breaks, you know.
Judy, a Cardinals fan, wanted to keep the connection, and so she pursued a chance to host the Cardinal Caravan.
We had people interested in the Cardinals, and the Cardinals caravans traveled around the state, and we tracked the caravans down, and I think Lebanon, Missouri was the first one. We drove up there with some students and did some interviews and kind of planted the idea that you don't have to you go beyond Springfield. There's more of Joplin. You know, we're further west. We have a lot of fans.
When Judy started, the station was a cable access channel. A few years later, in 1988, it became a low-powered station broadcast over the air for more to see, marking its first name change to Channel K57DR.
We had a tower up on, or really an antenna on top of a bank downtown, and we pretty much reached the Joplin city limits, but local cable systems were able to pick up our signal, so that helped extend our spread.
They were broadcasting from a studio located in what is commonly referred to as the Garage, now known as University Relations and Marketing, or the Mansion Annex building. The station moved to its permanent home in Webster Hall in 1992. In 1993, Judy would become the station's general manager and would welcome a new name change in 1995.
You have to go through the FCC, what numbers are, letters are taken, what can't you use? And at the time, the university was really emphasizing the international mission. So behind the scenes, we were saying, well, KGCS was to be K Global Communication System, GCS, and then KGCS came along.
In 2008, the station went digital, moving to Channel 22. Judy says the changes in technology over the years made a dramatic difference in how the station operated and for how students were involved.
I think computers and the automation and, from the production standpoint, seeing the students be able to go from sitting in an edit room with videotape to, computer editing, that's a world of difference.
In 2019, the auction of frequencies led to the final logo change to Channel 21. Modernization brought challenges.
We were a small budget operation, we didn't have that advertising revenue. We had, to operate on the budget we were given from the university. So, the financial challenges were always there.
But it survived and thrived with Judy leading KGCS for 34 of its 40 years on the air.
I think it was exciting to see it grow. And when I came in, it was about a year and a half old, and just to see how it grew over those years. It's always been the focus on the students and hands-on opportunities, and to see the station start off as a cable, only watching the Joplin cable system, to a broadcast station, and the opportunities the students had. It's really neat to see how that's developed.
Judy Stiles was one of the constants at KGCS, and we honor her legacy by welcoming her into the Regional Media Hall of Fame. For KGCS TV, I'm Abby Brower.
We also welcomed Chad Stebbins to the Regional Media Hall of Fame. He has been a fixture at MSSU for 40 years, influencing journalists and budding broadcasters as a communications professor and advisor to the Chart newspaper. Congratulations to Chad, and we wish him continued success in his new role as executive director of the Missouri Press Association. Thanks to all those who have made KGCS TV what it is today, and thank you for watching.